First thing you need to understand when you're trying to solo with the CAGED shapes is where they sit within your scales. So you can do the CAGED shapes with major chords, minor chords, seventh chords, diminished chords. We're just going to stick with the major chords today. We're going to do this in the key of F. We're going to talk about where they sit first, and then we're going to talk about how you kind of target those chord tones. And then when you actually have a chord progression, how do you use the CAGED system? So when you have the CAGED system, I'm going to assume you know it. It's just the open chord shapes, but played up the neck. And you can play, we're going to do this in the key of F. You can play an F chord here. You can play an F chord here. You can play an F chord here. And then all of the scales are essentially built around the CAGED shapes. So that's what's so important about this stuff, and you need to understand that. So, when you're in this shape right here, you are in your second position or second form of the pentatonic scale. And we're talking about the major pentatonic scale, F major pentatonic scale. And then when you're talking about this D shape, you can play it like this, kind of gives you more of a full chord. Or you can play it down here like this. It's just a triad, but this is inside your form 3 of your pentatonic. When you have your C shape, which I like to play like this, some people like to bar it. I just kind of mute out that high E string. You're playing like this. You're in your form 4. And then you have your A-shaped F chord. That's sitting inside your form 5. And when you're playing this, you could be playing out of your form 1 as this shape, this A shape connects with your G shape. So your G shape is in your form 1 of your pentatonic. And that's the one everybody loves, that form 1. That's the one everybody learns first. You know that one, you usually get taught it as your minor pentatonic. In this case, it would be a D minor pentatonic, which we're talking F major. F major and D minor are relative, so they share the same scale. So just little things to know. You need to know these things because if you're really gonna, solo with chord tones and all this stuff, it really helps to be able to figure out what key you're in quickly and things like that. So let's just talk about one thing you need to be able to do. And you know where they are within your pentatonic shapes now. How are you actually going to use them when you're soloing? So if you're just playing over an F chord, then you now know where the chord tones are for that F. So say you're soloing over an F chord and you're going to play out of the form 4 of your pentatonic, so you're going to use this shape. So you have your high E string, you have this note here, you have this note on your B string, this note on your G string, this note on your D string, this note on your A string. All those notes are within the chord. So those are the notes that you can target while you're soloing over an F chord in form 4. So, if you're just kind of noodling around. And that works over an F chord, right? And you can mess around with that in every position. So like when you're over here playing in your form 3, and those are all within the chord. You got them in every position, right? You got this F chord down here. That's sitting over your form 5, but you can also shift into your form 1 pretty easily, but So, you know, work out where they are within those pentatonic shapes, understand those scales, understand what notes are great. And this works over an F chord, and it's very helpful for understanding the fretboard, understanding when you're in the key of F or whatever key you're in, where the 1 is, right? Where your chord tones are for your 1 chord. But let's say you have more than a 1 chord in a song, right? Let's say we're just going to do something simple. So let's just say you have a 1 to a 6, and this is where things are going to change a little bit because you have a minor chord, but your 6 is your relative minor, so it's a D minor chord. So if you have an F chord here in your form 4, well, you can solo with chord tones all you want over that F chord, but you're going to be somewhat lost over the D minor chord, which, you know, they share some notes, so you wouldn't be totally lost, but if you're not focused on where's my D minor shapes, then the CAGED system doesn't really work for soloing as well, because you're just focused on where's the 1, if that makes sense. Like, you're just focused on where's the notes for the F chord. But once it switches chords to another chord, so if you're going like this, and when you're soloing over the F chord, which is the first chord, it's fine. You know where all your notes are. But once you get to that D minor chord or any other chord in the key, that's where the CAGED system for soloing can be confusing for people and not really help them anymore, because that's where you need to start understanding that basically every chord in a key can be played in one position on the neck. And it all changes based on where you are, but those CAGED shapes continue to work. So when you're a D minor, it's right here, compared to your F is right here. And you can see I don't even have to move my middle finger and my ring finger. So we're sharing some notes, but basically you need to be able to target the chord tones. If you're going to think about it as I'm soloing with CAGED, you're going to need to think about, well, where are the CAGED shapes for my other chords? So you have this little loop going on, and it's F for 2 beats, and then it goes to D minor for 2 beats. So if you could hear it, it's kind of, you're shifting your mindset from I'm playing over an F chord to now I'm playing over a D minor chord. And where is my D minor chord so that I can hit those chord tones? Once you start mapping this stuff out, you realize that every position of a scale holds every chord in the key. And there may be some overlapping into another position, but basically what you can do is you can take your F chord, that's your 1, your 2 would be a G minor, play a G minor like this, or you could do a weird G minor like this. That's sitting right on top of it. Then the next one is an A minor, so you can play that right there. Then you have that B flat chord, which is right there, and then you have that C chord, so you could play that C chord in the G shape, and then you have your D minor chord, and that's your 6th chord. And then I'm not going to talk about your diminished chord, your 7th chord, but that's every chord is sitting on top of that form 4 of your pentatonic. So whatever chords are in your chord progression, you just need to figure out, okay, where's my CAGED shape, or where's my chord basically? Is it right here? And then that CAGED shape, if you know where it sits, then you can start targeting those chord tones. And this takes a lot of practice, but it really opens up the fretboard for you. And I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.